We're standing outside the Gangneung Art Center, and this is going to be the place where a cultural event of significance for this PyeongChang Games is going to take place. So we have the visiting cultural group from the DPRK that has made their way here to perform tonight, and it's significant on a number of fronts, obviously because they are visiting the South, the ROK, but also because it's the night before the opening ceremony. Now, if we have a look around, you can see obviously there's a strong security presence, but the people have been lining up for quite some time now. We've been here for about half an hour, maybe even longer. The queue was well formed before we arrived, and you can see there are still many spectators waiting to get into this cultural venue. The concert is due to carry on for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, an hour and a half. And it will be interesting to see what the reaction to some of those people will be when they come out a little bit later. This is the first opportunity that the people in ROK would have to see this cultural performance. And of course, they're also looking forward to what is going to happen at the opening ceremony tomorrow. If we have a look down here, we can also see one of the venues. We've got some signage on this stadium, PyeongChang 2018. This is the heart of an area in PyeongChang. There are two centres, essentially, where the games are taking place. So one is in the mountains, where we have all of the alpine events. But here in PyeongChang and in the coastal area of Gangneung, we see events such as the ice hockey. We see events such as the figure skating. We will also see curling and a number of other sports around this area. Sliding sports also. But everything has been a bit of a hive of activity. This is a place of a population of only around, let's say, 40,000 people, 45,000 people. So it has almost doubled in size now because of the Olympic Games, because of the people that have come in, not just the teams, the athletes, the officials from around the world, but also many visitors from other parts of the ROK. So it is significant. We know that the president of the IOC, Thomas Bach, has been very keen for this moment because he says to have the two Koreas marching together, the DPRK and the ROK, sends a message around the world. We spoke to some of the people lining up here for the concert tonight, and they said, yes, it does send a message of peace, and they hope that it is long-lasting. They also hope to see reunification, because we know that DPRK is only about 50 kilometres from this venue of the Winter Olympic Games. Now, Thomas Bach's story is most interesting. He's taken it as a very personal issue. He spoke at a press conference yesterday, and he said that for him, it's a matter of deep significance, both as an athlete and now as a president of the International Olympic Committee. As an athlete, he competed back in 1972. He was a fencer. And in that competition, during that time, Germany was divided between East and West. So he knows the importance of countries being divided, what that does to families, and he also knows the importance and the healing process that takes place when those countries are reunited. Now, the first time the DPRK and the ROK marched together was actually at the Sydney Olympics in 2000. That took quite an extraordinary amount of negotiating for that to happen. But Thomas Bach was part of the negotiating team. So way back then, what are we talking now, 18 years ago, Thomas Bach was central in getting the two sides to march together under the one flag. And we're seeing it again now. But of course, he's moved on in his career as an IOC member. He is the IOC president. And so it is going to be hugely significant for him as a person, and of course with the office he holds for these Olympic Games. It's also going to be most interesting for the athletes. We've heard that there is a significant team coming from the DPRK, but the one that most people are talking about is the unified team in the ice hockey, the women's ice hockey. So that sends a number of messages right around the world. They've been trained under the guidance of an American coach, in fact, and she's had the job of getting some athletes from the DPRK at very short notice to come in and compete with the squad that she's been working with and building for quite some time. So the women's ice hockey, some special attention will be paid to that, no doubt. As we can see, there's quite a media presence here tonight. Anywhere where something is taking place with the DPRK, whether a cultural event or a sporting event, there is huge international media interest. Now, a lot of the media, you can see the ladders down there by the security row. There are ladders placed everywhere. That's for cameramen to stand on to get a better view of the limited action that we can see from outside the venue. And of course, the media will be staying around until the concert is finished. It'll take about an hour and a half, as we mentioned. Once the concert's finished, the media is going to get some reaction, if they can, from the people that are streaming out. But as I said, many of the people we spoke to, they said they were happy to get a ticket to come along tonight. They thought it was culturally significant. They think it's important, and they think it sends a significant message around the world. And as one young man told us, he said that is the message of peace. And that, of course, is what the organisers here in PyeongChang would hope that people will take away from these Olympic Games. Every Olympics has its own flavour. It's got its own cultural value. Obviously, these have been enhanced now by the addition of the cultural team and the performing team and the athletes from the DPRK. And if we keep that in note and we think about the messages that we'll be taking away at the end of 2 weeks here in PyeongChang, the organisers hope that they are messages of compassion, a message of connectedness, and a message of peace. And these will be all of the challenges that China will be facing in 4 years' time when they host the next Winter Olympic Games. And messages, again, thinking about the cultural values that want to be shown to the world. We already know Beijing was so successful in doing that at the 2008 Olympic Games. They say that those were the games that changed China, but it also changed the world's view of China. So we know that the Olympic Games are a very powerful tool for sending messages around the world, and we're witnessing one of those events here tonight at the Gangneung Cultural Center. I'm Tracy Holmes. Thanks very much for watching.